there, this is Vahid from VRF Education channel, and it is the 12th session of object-oriented programming in Python. Today we are going to learn about static methods in Python classes. Static methods in Python is somehow different from its equivalent in other programming languages such as C# or Java. In those languages, a static method functionality is somehow like class method in Python. But here in Python we have another type of methods named static methods, and we use them generally for some helper functions. This type of method doesn't access to the class itself or any of instances that created from that class. So we can call it on the class name, but it doesn't need to pass the class instance as the first parameter or the class itself as the first parameter. It's somehow used as some utility function to check something or to give information about an object that we pass to it to the user. So let's go to VS Code and see how this type of method works in Python. So far we talked about two different types of methods in Python classes: instance method and class methods. Instance methods are those that we call them over instances that we created from a class, and these are the most useful ones. And on the other hand, we got familiar to class methods. This type of method is not related to any specific object. This works over class itself, and in Python we mostly use them as a factory method. Factory is a design pattern that I'm gonna talk about design patterns in Python in another course, but in Python classes we mostly use class methods to create an instance, a specific instance of a class, and return it to the user. So one of the benefits of this work is to reduce the amount of code. And in this session I'm going to talk about another type of method, static methods. So let's see those two methods that we saw before and try to add one static method to our classes. Imagine that I want to model a BMW car class. Okay, so I'm going to create a class named BMW. Inside that class I want to add a constructor. In this constructor I'm gonna add two parameters. First one is color, and the other one is model or year, the year that the car created in. So self.model, self.color equal to color, and self.year equal to year. And again, we talked about this self parameter. This parameter is used as the first parameter in all instance methods, because Python interpreter going to pass the instance as the first parameter always. Now imagine that I'm gonna create another method, drive. This is also an instance method because I'm gonna pass the object to it. And again here I'm gonna add car is driving. So this is just another instance method. And for class methods, imagine that I'm going to create an instance of a BMW for current year and with the black color. So I'm going to create a class method, decorate that method with @ class method decorator, and then again I'm going to create new underline black. And by convention I just named the first parameter here as CLS, and this is the class itself. Python interpreter also add the class itself as the first parameter for class methods. Here I can just return the CLS. This is the class itself, and I don't need to mention the BMW explicitly. And for the color I'm gonna create a color, pass black. And for model I'm gonna let's import from date time, import date. Now I'm gonna use date dot today dot year. Okay, and that's it. And let's override or rewrite the $str method. And here I'm gonna return string BMW self.year. So this is the done the str methods. And now I can here create a method without instantiating directly from this class. For example, b1 equal to bmw dot create new black. And again, after that, I'm going to print the b1 here. So you can see that I have a black car with the current year model. So this is the functionality of class methods. And we can also change some class state inside these class methods. Okay, what's class state? Those methods that are related to class itself, not the instance. For example, I want to add a property here. For example, I want to add factory underline location equal to New York, or not New York, Berlin, located at Germany. So I can change the state of class inside this method, and we can change it because it's common through all instances. So we can change it in a class method, and then we can access it in other instance methods. So what is the functionality of static methods? Static methods are just another type of method that we can declare inside a Python class. To convert a method to a static method, it's just enough to add a static method decorator on the top of the method declaration. And again, for static methods, we don't need to pass any parameters because we're not going to change class states. So imagine that I'm going to create this type of methods are considered as a utility method. For example, imagine that I want to check if the car goes more than, for example, 5,000 kilometers. It should be serviced. Okay, so I'm going to create a static method, and I'm going to call it is service necessary. And in parameter, I just receive the kilometer that the car passed. I call it time. And here I'm going to say that return if let's change it to something else or not. Here I'm going to return check the current state of the car that passed in kilometer and return true if km is greater than 5,000. Else I'm just gonna return false. This might not be a good example, but I'm gonna demonstrate the usage of static methods. Now, this method doesn't access to neither any instances nor the class itself. It's just a utility method. Here I just can use, for example, add parameter km here and self.km equal to km. Okay, and I'm gonna pass, for example, 6,000 for this parameter. Now here I can use bmw dot is what bmw dot is underline service necessary and pass the b1 dot km to that function. So now it says true, and if I change it to 4,000, for example, it says no, it's not necessary to go for service. So the role of a static method is to add some utility methods to class that it does not depend to any specific instances, or we are not going to call them through instances, and it's not related to class state, so we don't need to change any class state inside that method. So we can just declare it as a static method. In nature, it's something like class methods, but it's somehow different because we're not able to change the class state, or even we don't have the class as the parameter here, and we cannot decide what type of class we are working on at runtime, because in class methods we can do some dynamic things at runtime because we know the class that this method is calling through. But in static methods, no, we don't have anything, we don't know anything about the class or the instances. And this is a whole thing about static methods, and I hope you enjoy it and you get it completely and make use of it in your code when it's necessary. Till the next session, goodbye.